Hi guys, I'm doing one last video as it's the end of Transplant Week 2019 and sharing one more story with you guys. And the story I'm going to share is about a guy called Joe or Joseph Alabasta. If I've said that wrong, I do apologize. Um, so Joe, he was born on the 9th of March 1989. And there was no problems. He was declared a healthy baby, no medical problems whatsoever. And it weren't till 2001, when he was 11 years old, that he was diagnosed with a rare condition known as Wilson's disease. This disease, it has an impact on your entire body, as copper deposits that usually are flushed out by the liver uh, aren't. And in his case, they gradually over the years built up and started to. It ends up that the liver is worst affected and it starts destroying it. Or like a bit like a poison, like bile going through your system. It's like a poison. Um, so the first signs that he was lethargic, loss of appetite, jaundice. GP didn't know, so they went to the local hospital. Um, and after the GP sent him to the local hospital and they did more tests, they immediately sent him straight to King's uh, via an ambulance, which obviously at that age would have been scary because you've never heard of King's College Hospital as a liver specialist, or or you're in a mad rush because you're in an ambulance being rushed to a specialist hospital. Um, So the consultant that he met at King's immediately diagnosed that he had this disease due to the copper deposits that were shown in his eyes. Um, and it's like I said, it destroys the liver um, with copper that's consumed through your food, your drink, but doesn't get flushed out. In the end, it causes liver failure, which then obviously with cirrhosis being part of the liver failure gradually kills the liver entirely. Cirrhosis being liver failure. Um, so yeah, obviously it got worse over a couple of months of treatment at King's. Though he responded well initially, um, he had such severe damage to the liver that he was going to need a transplant. He was listed for a transplant, and luckily, after a couple of months on the list whilst at King's, and though he was sent home for a weekend, um, uh, in between that time, a suitable liver came, and his first transplant was on the 2nd of the 12th, 2001. Um, Apparently, whilst he was unconscious, he was speaking fluent French, which the nurse gave him a good compliment when he woke up. Um, but like myself, he got to know friends at King's because Mountbatten, um, when you're in that situation, you're in a specialist ward like the Mountbatten, the children's ward. The parents get to know each other. Back in those days, you had the live ITU being sharing the kitchen with the ward because it's not the refurbished thing now. And in them days, you also get to know some parents from ITU that were sharing the same kitchen. Um, it was a sort of like a community. You got to know your friends, got to know friends. For example, if everyone was having a Chinese or something, um, such as they go around the ward asking, and you'd all chip in your money that you were gonna spend on the Chinese. And um, it's like with Joe here, he found someone who did who found us a kebab shop down on the high street that does really good kebabs, and they went down and got kebabs for him whilst in hospital, because the high street at King's, the main high street, has McDonald's, pizza, Chinese, Indian, literally every takeaway possible, and it's all down there, just down the road on the high street. So you could even get the bus down the hill and back up, or you can walk, which is kind of an advantage compared to some places. Um, so yeah, like I said, it helped you. Everyone helped out and looked after each other. Um, so yeah, and um, with his friends, he got some awesome kebabs, cakes, fruits as gifts, and stuff like that. And he recovered well, and he was very lucky enough to go home for Christmas that year. Um, though he missed a lot of school time at that age of 11, his exams, which would have been his SATs when they were affected, um, and he could go back to pretty much what would be a normal life. Um, when he was older, at 16, his main connection in life to the hospital, his father, passed away. Which, if it's kind of like being your main connection, it's kind of like my mum is towards me. Um, if my mum did all the healthcare stuff for me, and it'd be like losing my mum, which was obviously devastating, and which for him was obviously devastating. Um, so obviously over time, um, he slowly became unwell again, and this was during a time where I met him in 2011 whilst being on the adult um, ITU, and yeah, I got to spend time. I think as I met him in 2011. Right, you can check that. Um, but yeah, he slowly became unwell. Though he tried the different diets and exercise, he ended up in hospital, where obviously I met him with liver problems. But he had decent enough strength to have. He had enough strength in himself to have a transplant. Um, so though the liver lasted 11 years, so by this point he's 22, he became jaundice, dark urine, ascites returning from like he had the last time, um, and after a bad sort of experience in local hospital, he decided he's going to discharge himself and go to King's. Simple as that. Because you get better care as well as you get specialist care. The staff, they were brilliant. They organised him free Wi-Fi and stuff, shit like that, to make himself as comfortable as possible. Um, and that is other than the nurse in charge. I'd say comfortable, but the nurse in charge did deny him painkillers, which probably wasn't that comfortable anyway. Um, but after 3 months of whilst in there, tests, biopsies, um, tests, biopsies, liver biopsies. Um, he contracted untoward the norovirus. But obviously, being on a transplant, waiting for a transplant, you can't have norovirus whilst having a transplant, so you'd have to wait. Which he did, and after this, he was listed for a transplant. But the problem was he was at the bottom of the list, which means it's very, very hard and unlikely to get a transplant because you're behind people that need it more than he does. Say need it more than he does. Everyone needs a transplant, obviously. That's why you don't go on the list. You don't go on the list if you need one. But there's people who are more ill and are in a dire situation, where if they don't last a week, they will end up dead. So after obviously waiting on a list, you have more months of horrible liver failure. Liver failure, I would not wish it on my enemies. Would not. It's horrible. It's one of the worst ways to go because you just slowly disintegrate bit by bit. It's horrible. I still have trauma from it now. It's horrible. So yeah, he had more months of liver failure, deterioration, and obviously I'd visit whenever I could. I was obviously had my transplant by that point, and I left in 3 weeks. But every appointment I had, which was every 2 weeks, then every month, then every 2 months, I'd always make sure I'd went to see him, which was kind of easy because outpatients was right by the ward. So I always said to my mum, I need to see Joe. I need to spend some time with him. Well, we did spend some time. I mean, I remember Joe, you'll remember this. I still thrashed you at F1 2011. Thrashed your ass. Alright, and I'll thrash your ass now. Alright. So yeah, he was given one last visit, a home visit, and unfortunately, and I heard about this, he was put into an induced coma. And an induced coma, they basically, an induced coma is where they put you into one. Whether you be knocked out with brain injuries and it puts you in a coma, they put you into it to either protect or clear or do other tests that they can't do whilst you're awake. And they do this for liver failure if you are literally on the point of brain damage. My third transplant, I was, if you see it from another video that I did from my last video on my story, I was a day away from literally going into reduced coma and clearing my system out because my albumin, the bilirubin level was so high that I was going to end up having brain damage. And it's the same case for Joe. They don't do it unless you are literally on the point of damaging your brain or anything like that. So yeah, and this lasted 3.5 weeks. And luckily, he didn't have many days to live by the time he got his transplant. Which I think for his family must have been absolutely horrible. It's sometimes I explain it as sometimes it's horrible to go through in yourself, and I'm sure Joe will agree with me with this. But so when I lost my father, he was terminal cancer and he was slowly dying, and I found that even worse, to just sit and watch, or to know one of your friends is dying. It's worse, I feel, to watch that than actually do it, go through it yourself. But yeah, he finally got his second transplant on the 25th of May 2013, which is what I had my transplant on the 20th of March 2013, so it was 2 months out, 2 months and about 5 days. So, and obviously with the amount of deterioration he had, it was going to be a slow fight to recover. He picked up CRE, which is like a bug that really doesn't have so much as the health impact it can do if it develops really quickly and they don't act on it. but usually you got antibiotics, it just goes and you just end up carrying it, really. I caught a bug from ITU, and they will now won't put me in any other cubicle where I share a toilet, because the ward you're on, you'd have two wards that share one bathroom. But now they won't put me on that, they just put me in a cubicle. But yeah, after a long fight, he was strong enough to be discharged in July 2013. And same like last time, he managed to get back to a normal life. He was able to resume, went to uni like I'm doing at the minute. I'm in my second year at university, or about to start my second year. He did his graphic design degree. He continued running the small business that he has, which is a clothing line that can also design shirts. He sent me a personalised shirt to celebrate my fourth transplant. So yeah, actually, Joe, I've still got it. I've still got it here, right? And I'm telling you now, you need to send me an update, right? Because it's out of date. I've had two more. So yeah, you need to send it. You need to send a six transplant one. And for everyone who doesn't know, this is the sort of stuff he does. Right? So yeah, look at that, 4 transplants. There you go. So yeah, obviously, like myself, though the physical impact dies away as you get stronger, the mental impact is profound. It it's like a soldier coming back from Afghanistan and having nightmares, trauma, seeing such trauma. I still have nightmares from when I was 11, and I'm sure Joe does as well. Is having PTSD. We both have it. Um, we don't have it to an extreme where usually probably a soldier would, but the amount of trauma we've seen, it's still there. My mum sometimes, I'm in this now, sometimes I'm asleep and I'm in that situation in a dream so much that I'm shouting mum whilst I'm asleep, and it's my mum having to come in and wake me up. Like, I'm not hiding it. Like, it's nothing to hide. It's not hot. It's not wrong. It's not bad. It's not anything. It's just something that even though I've had therapy for, it's still going to be there at times. I still feel at times for the rest of my life it's still going to be there, and that's the end of it. One time I was in school, and literally I wasn't in the room. It was a maths lesson. I wasn't in the room. They had to take me out because I was just having flashbacks, and that's when it was worse than it is now. And it was the same with Joe. With the trauma he's seen, he still gets night. He still has symptoms of PTSD in there. So yeah, after finishing uni in 2018, he had to have follow-up surgery to remove part of his intestines, but he also had to strengthen the wound up, and then remove any embedded stitches that were there. But yeah, he says this surgery, the transplants, they make a massive difference to his life overall. But in his quote, and I'll read this quote out, he says that I owe a lot to the countless staff, the loved ones and friends who supported me along the way. You're welcome. It's most important to have the opportunity just to live a normal, healthy life. Sort of says it in itself. And this is what all about Transplant Week is about. Is life in any religion? They say life is precious. There's loads of ethical issues apparently about this. I don't understand it. You can have a go at me, but I don't understand it. Life's precious. We should do what we can to save it. I don't get, well, some people have these ethical issues about it. Anyone that has an ethical issue about it, go take a visit to Mountbatten. Go take a visit to Rays of Sunshine. You see a kid at 6 weeks old. You see a kid at 6 weeks old that's deteriorating because he needs a transplant. That's why. That's why we need organ donation. That's why we need transplants. And to support Transplant Week, we need to do all we can because they've done nothing wrong in their life. All they've done is be born. That's all they've done. And we must do all they can. We must do all we can to give them a chance. Give them a chance. I'm lucky. I'm really lucky. It's transplant going on a list. It's a lottery. I was lucky. I had so many transplants. Right? And yes, some people could say, well, why is it you get 6 and I get 1? No, so I don't know. It's just luck. It is luck. I know friends who didn't get their 3rd. I know friends that just had their 4th and have just passed away. I don't know. There's no answer to it. But I'm not. What I will say is that, like Joe, and he's with uni and that, like myself going to uni, we will do all we can to make the most of our opportunities in life. That's all we can. That's all the donors that we've had can ask for, to make the most of it while it lasts. But I employ, if you've listened to these videos, please sign up to the register. Right? Don't care if you don't subscribe to the channel. That's not important. Right? Support the donor register. Right? The law's changing next year to opt out. Stay opt in. Let your family members know. Family members, they need to know, because they can turn on your wishes if they don't know, because they have the choice. You ain't gonna be there. You ain't gonna be there at that moment to choose. Let them know. Have the conversation with your loved ones. The conversation should be part of funeral plans. It should be on the end of every life insurance plan or funeral plans forms or anything like that. Or when they do it over the phone, they should ask. Let them know. Right? Support the register, and let's give as many of these kids that come in day after day with these problems. Let's give these kids a chance. That's all they ask for. So I hope that I've tried to give an eye opener, and I've tried to give some awareness. So yeah, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and like I said, the organ donation register, the CLDF page is all going to be on the video description. The links are going to be there. So yeah, go on their website, find out more information. To donate, just follow their website. And like I said, let's do all we can to save as many lives as we can. So, because it's just six that. So, because it's like I've said before, 6,000 people have a transplant every year, and 6,000 people die when they could have given a transplant, but they didn't. So, yeah, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys as soon, uh, and I'll come up with my next chapter of my story. So, yeah, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll speak to you guys soon.